the question is, does it worth to sacrifice today pleasures to get eternal life in the future? If God exists and I sacrifice my pleasures, I have the most preferred good. So we need, this is the order of preferences. We will see that the order of preferences is really, really important. So we have to order our preferences. So the most preferred good is eternal life. A little bit less preferred good is the sacrifice of our pleasure, because the worst possible scenario is eternal damnation. So what we have to avoid absolutely is eternal damnation, and eternal life is preferred to the sacrifice of present pleasures. So according to Pierre-Simon Laplace, applying Bayesian reasoning, Pascal is wrong, and what is rational is to bet on the non-existence, so not sacrifice my present pleasures. So in Bayesian reasoning, we have to evaluate the probability of a predictive hypothesis. So it's a sort of second order probability. So it's the probability that a probabilistic forecast is reliable. And this is based on information. Then, of course, what is important in Bayesian reasoning is the updating. So we will see this more in details later. So there is no way to predict the following outcome, even if I know all the series of the past trials. So even if I observe a dice which is thrown 100 times, I cannot predict better what will happen at the 101st trial. This is because it's a random variable. If I could, there would be a law, but it's random because there is no law. So even though I observe an infinite numbers of trials, I don't know what the next one will be. I have no more reason to forecast the next one. Moreover, how do we know that the repetitions are repetitions of the same? So this was not a way of solving, in some way, the problem of induction. But this is the theory of objective probabilities. So the theory of objective, so because we have to see how Bayesian is subjective opposed to objective and logic. So according to this objective view, there are real random variables in nature. So it's like nature is really throwing dice, tossing coins, spinning roulettes. The idea is, okay, there are real random variables in nature, and we have to guess to find out how many possible values, characterize these random variables. And this is objective chance. But mostly the problem is that we can calculate the probability only of events for which we have experimental evidences. And we cannot calculate the probability of any other things. The degree of belief in my hypothesis based on the information that I have. This does not mean that I cannot have an opinion. I can have an opinion. I just have to know how much I have to trust my opinion. And of course, the idea is that so probability is a measure of the degree of belief in a predictive hypothesis. The degree of belief, since it is subjective, is measured by the decision that one is willing to take by relying on the hypothesis. Optimistic Bayesians says that's good because we have different hypotheses, and then we can update We make new observation and we modify the degrees of belief that these different hypotheses deserve. And we converge. So one of the most interesting things in Bayesianism is this convergence theorem, which is fascinating. So the idea is that two agents or more who are starting with completely different beliefs about the same event. So we are calculating the probability of rain tomorrow, for example. And we are starting with completely different beliefs, a completely different hypothesis, because we are considering different kinds of information. The theorem says that if we share our information, so I know the hypothesis that you are evaluating, you know the hypothesis that I am evaluating, and I know the evidence that supports your idea, and you know the hypothesis, the information which supports mine, and we make the same following observation. By updating, thanks to Bayes' formula, we will agree automatically. So this is the magic of Bayesianism, and this is the reason why it's considered as the solution to the human problem. Because even though you start, your prior beliefs are totally different, if you share all the information and you make all the following observation in common, using the same formula, the two agents starting with different beliefs will converge.